This will get interesting. A mix of wet tires and slick tires. People out on older, wet tires.
And they're all cold tires. And they don't work well when they're cold.
Connor Daly, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Will Power, Scott Dixon, Sebastian Bourdais, and the dominator of this race, Pablo Montoya, now back in 6th.
Nice start for Connor. Nicely timed.
Filippi's around and into the wall.
Now the drivers that have the wets on have the option of getting offline. When you have these slicks on, you cannot go offline. Full course yellow.
The caution for Filippi, who's on the straightaway between turns 1 and 2.
And he had slicks on. And another car's in the barrier. Coletti's in the barrier. I believe he had slicks on also.
Yeah, those are slick tires on that car.
You cannot get on the damn part of the track with these slick tires. It takes a lot of experience and a lot of self-control to stay on that narrow patch of drying road. It really isn't dry yet, just drying. He just lost complete grip, and there's nothing you can do when that happens.
Stefano Coletti, Luca Filippi with troubles.
As you watch this here, just look at the top of the screen right now. Filippi is going to end up getting over that creek as we talk about. He's already a little bit wide. When you go over that creek, the car starts to get a little bit airborne. The back end started to come around from him, and they just lost it. Riding along with Tony Kanaan, he sees it all happen in front of him and accelerates away from the crash scene, which is a smart thing to do.
So that was part A of the incident. Part B.
And Coletti didn't stand a chance. He was way too wide.
Off on the wet part of the track on the slick tires. So they refired Filippi, but he's going to be coming to the pit lane because he's got some damage on that car. And the pace car back out in front of the field for just the second time in this race since the start. Connor Daly, the race leader in the duel in Detroit. and a new wing on each end of the 20 car for Luca Filippi. Stefano Coletti driving away from pit lane as we are under caution for the second time in the duel in Detroit, with Connor Daly the race leader.
And I think the track conditions being as they are, he will lead quite a few laps.
What if your imaginary friend wasn't imaginary? Don't miss the series premiere of The Whispers tomorrow night, 9 Central here on ABC. So my handy-dandy weather apps say the rain is done. So the drying track conditions will continue to be a story in this race. Story of the days so far, or stories if you're just joining us. Yesterday's winner, Carlos Munoz, out early with a mechanical problem under the engine cover on his 26 machine. Then Will Power dueling with Juan Pablo Montoya all race long for the lead. In fact, got the lead on the initial jump into turn number 1, then had a problem that brought him to pit road.
And they had to come in and change the steering wheel because he had an electronic problem. You can see the crew member there ready to change the steering wheel. These steering wheels today are almost like a black box full of electronics, and they make that change successfully, and the car is back to running properly.
Juan Pablo Montoya's dominated until this last pit stop.
He obviously came in for slicks on a wet track, and leaving the pits, he almost lost it, would have collected the wall, and he wasn't very happy. They spent so much time adjusting his front wing.
That, our Mother's Race rundown on what has happened through the first 43 laps of 70 scheduled today here at Detroit. One to go is the signal being given from the flag stand. Connor Daly leads. Ryan Hunter-Reay is running in second.
How's it going over there? Well, it certainly wasn't what we were looking for, but it might be okay if we can just go green for a while. We need all those guys to stop again after you do, and then we'll be looking good.
So, tying that all together, again, Daly, Hunter-Reay, Power, and Dixon, the first 4, still on the rain tires. Then Bourdais and Montoya on the first of the 2 of the drivers on the slick tires. My count, I have 5 drivers on the rain tires still, 4 on the black primary tires, and everybody else on the red, softer alternate tires at this point. And again, by the tools that I use, we're done with the rain. Now it's a matter of to what degree the track surface continues to dry for the guys that are still in the wet tires.
I think it is advantage Montoya and Bourdais. It will take them a few laps. The track will continue to dry. Daly will do everything he can to lead as many laps as he can. Hunter-Reay has wets on behind him, so I think those 2 are not going to run away from the field, and that will allow Montoya and Bourdais to get stronger and stronger as it continues not to rain.
Those drivers that do have the rain tires on that you're talking about, watch for them to go offline to try and look for the water that they can drive to cool the tires down, to try to make sure that they're going to last a little bit longer. But I think the guys with the rain tires on right now are sitting ducks after about another 5 or 6 laps.
And let's remember, Connor Daly is a rookie. He's done a lot of racing in Europe, but this is a lot of pressure for him to be under. And I think he's done very well so far.
Daly, the 23-year-old son of former Formula One and Indycar driver and broadcaster Derek Daly from the Indianapolis area, got the ride in the Indy 500. The car broke down before he even got to take the green flag, but was tapped to fill in for James Hinchcliffe in this 5 car here at Detroit. He leads the field as they come to the restart. That'll be with 25 laps to go. A lot of racing left to be done. With a move on Newgarden. Graham Rahal tries to follow through.
Look at Daly pull away from Hunter-Reay.
Just don't slide the car. Don't take the tires off. The advantage with the rain tires is that they are still a softer compound, meaning more grip than even the red slick tires that some of the other guys are using. But will you overheat them? Here's where he's going to have to be very smooth on the steering wheel, very smooth on the throttle, not to try to abuse the tires, because once they start to go off, they'll start to go much, much slower.
Now for Daly and Ryan Hunter-Reay, it's been 22 and 25 laps since they've been on the pit lane. So with a pit window of up to 28 laps, but add some time to that because of time spent under caution, it's not all that long till they're going to have to come to pit road for fuel.
Daly has to keep on doing what he's doing and get as much distance as he can between the cars, between himself and the cars behind, but he is doing a phenomenal job in difficult conditions to continue to go away. Jan?
You had talked about not too many laps until the two front runners have to stop. By my calculations, Connor Daly can go to lap 54, but Hunter-Reay will be in first. I think he can only go as far as lap 51, so he doesn't have much time to work with.
And we saw going down that back straight, he did everything he should have done by going into the puddles and trying to cool off his tires. He needs to stretch those tires as far as he can.
Montoya working on Sebastian Bourdais to try and reclaim the spot that he lost on pit road.
And they both have slicks on, so this is a battle amongst equals right now.
And as you mentioned with the slick tires, if you go offline, off the dry line, that's the time where it's very hard for you to make that judgment. Is the track going to be dry enough to try this or not?
But you can tell, just look at the road, how there's even a difference in color. And that's the color that the drivers are working to stay in. Here's a slippery bit you keep talking about, Scott.
Oh, I found it very slippery even in the dry. It's just so difficult back there in that fountain area. And here's turn 11 where the guys go through. And you see the trees are there, and I always found it very slippery through that area also. Not much wind is getting over there. Turn 11 looks like it's still very slippery for the drivers.
Bourdais has been very competitive this season. He is so close to having that first win, and today might be the day if he can continue to gain on the cars in front of him. Very tricky part of the race. They cannot put a foot wrong. Every lap they do with these slick tires, they will get more and more competitive because they're starting to build heat into them.
Talk about Sebastian Bourdais, of all the road course racing that he's done, and racing in Le Mans, a very talented driver. Remember, he's won 4 championships, but when you just take the open wheel road course races into respect right now, 23.9% of the races that he's done on road courses he has won, which is very impressive.
They are all over Dixon that is running on wets, and Castroneves is as close as you can get to a car without running into. Look how close, and he's on the damn part of the track, and he's got it done.
He got Dixon moved over there, so that worked.
Montoya couldn't take the same move, though, over onto the wet and the heavy braking zone on the slick tires.
The drivers with slicks have to get on the dry bit when they're braking. If not, they will just slide straight into the wall.
Takuma Sato moving in to join this group.
Montoya's losing a lot of time.
Here's Sato on Graham Rahal. Oh, caught the curb. Rahal shut the door.
It was Rahal's corner.
And for Sato, that just makes you more determined to get past the guy that just did that to you.
Rick?
Hunter-Reay brought the car in. They're going to go to black tires, make a minor wing adjustment. I can tell you that they have set up several times. Their goal was to go as long as they possibly could in their fuel window. They think they're good to the end, Doc.
And Roger Penske has called Elio Castroneves, and this will make their final stop. Going to go ahead for the first time today and put the red slick tires. They've had the rain tires on the entire race. Getting it full of fuel. Got to be full of fuel down and away from Castroneves.
Bourdais' biggest buddy right now is Scott Dixon. He's holding up Montoya, who has a very fast car, but he gets by him. He gets by him. Maybe not.
Backstretch. Montoya looking for the dry braking zone. As Bourdais gets by Power, Montoya gets by Dixon. Rahal follows him through.
But Bourdais has a big jump on Montoya. It's going to be hard for him to close that gap. The absolute wrong tires right now, Scott, are the rain tires. Slicks have just come into a category of their own.
And you saw that power down with Montoya trying to go around Dixon. And when you're trying to do that, as we're seeing this right now, a little difficulty.
And Sato gets by.
And Sato gets by, exactly, because when you try to put the power down, you get so much squirm out of the back of the car as Dixon decides it's now time to come in. You don't get any traction whatsoever.
Will Power and Scott Dixon both on pit lane. Doc?
And remember, this is their last stop. Others will have to make one more stop. Will Power, the first one in, the winner a year ago here, and he will put on the sticker red tires. Soft compound, slick tires, getting it full of fuel, adjustment in the rear, and he is away. Behind him, Scott Dixon still getting his tires put on, and now Dixon is away trying to get traction out of his pit box.
So now the question becomes, what circumstances present themselves that shake up this strategy, this rolling strategy play that we're seeing at the moment? Car in the wall. Joseph Newgarden was just on the pit lane. He's crashed heavily.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Newgarden was just on the pit lane with Power and Dixon.
When you come out of the pits, those tires, they are stone cold and they have absolutely no grip.
You watch the top of the screen. If he just came out of pit lane trying to put the power down, it starts to swap sides.
Oh, looks like he almost hit the hole in the wall, the gap in the wall.
Yeah, I'm not clear why that's there, but especially in such a particular spot of the racetrack like that. But
he got very lucky there. Very, very lucky.
so when the car starts to come out from underneath you, you correct with the steering, and then when the car grips itself, it generally goes where the front wheels are turned, and that's exactly what happened to Joseph.
As Joseph climbs from the car, we're very happy to see that. Jan?
Yes, and we had just observed his pit stop. You had mentioned he had just left the pits, and those were the red alternate Firestones, but they were a brand new set, sticker sets as we call them. And Eddie, as you know, and Scott, on those sticker sets of tires, they even take a little bit more warming up. They're treacherous until they get up to speed, especially if you hit a wet patch.
Absolutely right, Jan. I always found it seems like it's the release gel out of the mold or something like that that is on those tires where they are so slick. You definitely need a couple of corners on them to make sure that they have a little bit more grip than when you first put them on. It's so difficult, and you can spin the rear tires on leaving the pit lane, so the rear tires are warm. Sometimes you get a bit more traction on that, but you certainly have to wait for at least a couple of laps, Eddie.
Getting back to the leader of the race, I think it would be a very good moment for Daly to think of coming into the pits.
So the reason, Eddie, you were talking about that opening in the wall, so that you know on a long high-speed straightaway like that, you have to have access places for the safety vehicles to access, and that is the corner where Joseph Newgarden came in and caught the wall.
And if you look at it, the angle of the wall that he hit could have been very bad. He barely missed that corner that we see. And when you hit a wall, it's always much better to side slap it. He didn't. He was turning in with the front at a very awkward angle. If he would have hit that maybe 15 feet earlier, the damage would have been a lot more severe.
Let's check downstairs with Jan.
And Eddie just mentioned this would be a good time for Connor Daly to pit. Well, it is a good time. In fact, they had set out tires just before this caution, but unfortunately, when the field packs up, he's going to come on pit road. You lose 22 seconds with a full fill of fuel. Had it stayed green, he would have dropped back somewhere mid-pack. Now, because they've packed up, unfortunately, he's going to lose all his track position.
He's had a great race so far. What he needs to do now is finish.
So here they come to the pit opening, and Connor Daly will give up the lead and head onto the pit lane. Let's go back to Jan.
And of course, the whole crew and Connor Daly love what they saw. He shows what he can do behind the wheel, knows that there's no rush on this. This is under full course caution. He'll also go with, yes, those are new, brand new sticker Firestone Reds, having a little bit of a slow right rear and waiting for some fuel. But again, it doesn't matter. He knows he's going to lose his track position. Some others coming onto pit road to top up as well. You know, it's not the end of the day for him. Something can happen. He certainly does not have to stop again. He's good till the end of the race.
The twists of plot continue here in Detroit. Sebastian Bourdais, now the race leader, after Joseph Newgarden's heavy crash exiting the pits. Back after this from your ABC station. Reminder to enter at shophonda.com for a chance to start a Verizon IndyCar Series race in the Honda two-seat IndyCar, driven by Mario Andretti. That yesterday here at Detroit. They didn't run the two-seater today because it was a downpour when it was time.
If they're running it right now, they're in the race.
Yeah, that's right. So interesting, this third full course caution of the race, and it extending a few laps to repair the wall where Joseph Newgarden hit between turns 2 and 3, and how it might affect the outcome where fuel stops are concerned. Doc?
Well, Jimmy Vasser has told his driver, Sebastian Bourdais, that maybe we pit last time. Maybe we pit last time by because we can only make it to lap 64. We are 6 laps short. Bourdais said, I have not been in fuel-saving mode at all, but I can get there. If we pit now, we have no shot of winning the race. Let me stay out and save fuel, and if I can save enough and we get some yellow laps or caution laps, we will win this race. Right now, he's got to somehow make up 6 laps that he's short on fuel.
Well,
six laps?
That's an interesting gamble. But the way the yellow flag has been flying in this one, they might get it.
And he deserves it. They've been so close this year to getting it right.
One of the other drivers to watch for because of all these guys that we know might make it, might not make it. We'll have to see if they cough in the last couple of laps. But Charlie Kimball pitted back in lap 43, so maybe that might be a possibility there. And Jan, you can fill us in more on the pit strategy down there.
Yes, the way that you save laps, and they're talking about 6 laps, that was prior to this caution. So for every 2 laps you do behind the pace car, you gain 1. You save enough fuel to get another lap of green. So essentially, if you have to save 6, that means 12 laps of caution will get you there. But at the same time, as Sebastian Bourdais said, if you go into fuel-saving mode, maybe save half of it on the track, get the half of it with these cautions. If this takes a little while, that whole front group, I think, is going to have a real shot to get to the end.
They are finishing up the cleanup and repair, so we're going to be going back to racing momentarily. In fact, this coming lap, the green flag will wave when they get to the start-finish line. Green flag waves next for the Verizon IndyCar Series at Texas Motor Speedway next Saturday night for the Firestone 600, 8 Eastern. See that one on CNBC, and we wish our friends there luck with the rest of the IndyCar season. The NHRA Dragster is going to be up in New Jersey at Englishtown for the Toyota NHRA Summer Nationals. See qualifying Saturday at 11 Eastern, and final eliminations next Sunday at 9 Eastern on ESPN2. Scott Dixon's team talking strategy.
3 laps, maybe 4 laps short. So they're gonna do 1 or 2 things. They're either gonna slow way down or they're gonna halt so they can find the pit lane with a 22-second gap, because we know that's what they need.
So a lot of possibilities is basically the formula wide open at the moment for how this one's going to finish.
We should send him a thank you note. That was the most concise strategy development that we have heard.
You expect no less from Mike Hull?
No, we should. I've got to start texting him in the middle of the race.
A couple of updates. You will see Tristan Vautier, who's back up to 7th place now, and Marco Andretti, who was a lap down earlier by the pit strategy, got waved around the pace car, and by the other shuffling of pit stops, Marco is now back up to 9th place. So it's Bourdais, Montoya, Rahal, Sato, Pagenaud, your top 5 as they begin to gas it up and go for it. Montoya with a bid for the lead.
And that is struggling.
Outside, clear.
Boy, those cars sure are darting a lot coming around too.
Great battle between Montoya and Rahal.
Contact and around.
Who was it that wanted some yellows?
Forrest Coletti. He was the one that got bumped and spun. Karam was stopped in it. That's Connor Daly driving away. Jack Hawksworth, 41, also driving away. At the moment, it's just a local yellow.
It's looking like the number 4, Coletti, maybe stalled his car so he could not get that moved. If he doesn't move here shortly, probably will be underneath that full course caution.
If they can't get the car out of the way, it will be a full course caution.
Well, it's at the end of that long straightaway in turn 3.
Neither car has moved yet. Still under just the local yellow.
Got a local yellow on turn 3.
The drivers have have to slow down on that local yellow. There we go.
Course yellow, yeah.
Very good call.
That was a very wise decision. Especially with the dampness offline on the track and 2 stalled cars there and safety workers on the track. Very prudent call there by IndyCar officials.
So this plays into Bourdais' hand, plays into Montoya's hand, and plays into Rajal's hand.
2 of them sitting next to each other, getting refired.
And they're both negotiating to get refired first.
Oh, look at this. They're making it 3 or 4 wide, so everybody's just bunching down into there.
And Karam just came in too hot and hit the back. And he just runs into the back of him.
Sage Karam into the back of the 41 of Jack Hawksworth and just lifts up the back of the car, uses contact with the road and spins him around.
Connor Daly will pick his way through that, so caution number 4 out in this race with 15 laps to go. The plot thickens here in Detroit. Sebastian Bourdais, the leader. Restart here at the Raceway at Belle Isle Park. Verizon IndyCar Series, duel in Detroit, down to 13 laps to go when they take the green flag. Sebastian Bourdais, Juan Pablo Montoya, Graham Rahal, Takuma Sato, Simon Pagenaud, the top 5. Montoya tried to go side by side at the last restart. See what happens this time.
Green.
Will Power around Marco Andretti for a spot. That's 9th.
A lot of movement in the back of the field. That's Dixon.
And Castroneves tries to follow him through.
This is when you're pushing so hard because you know it means so much to the end of the race. Your heart rate is just going a mile a minute. You're just trying to make sure you can drive the car in as deep as possible without just driving it too tough, too hard into the turn and making it slip and losing position.
Bourdais will not give Montoya an inch. They've been trying so hard to get their first win, and he's driving perfectly today. They're both very aggressive. And if they make a mistake, Rahal is there for his first win right behind him.
Wow, 15 and stops out. Here comes Sato.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be looked at by race control. You saw Rahal get the back end out just a little bit, lost traction, started to lose some space between him and Sato.
But we know what happens with that blocking rule towards the end. Everybody's a bit less careful with it.
Like is able to get through this high-speed sweeper on the front stretch from turn 1 down to from turn 14 down through turn 2 and put a gap on Montoya as Power tries to pick up another spot,
and that's a really important place to do it.
Sweeps from one side of the track to the other.
Contact! Charlie Kimball clips his teammate Scott Dixon, and Dixon's into the tires.
He didn't clip him, he ran into him. I don't think he realized that Dixon was alongside him.
Well, that started a couple of turns ago because the way that they were swapping back and forth, and
totally unintentional. Dixon had done such a good race.
The third place driver in the championship starting the day. And down at the far end of the course by turn 4, he's in the tires.
Well, there's no more fuel strategy being played now. Everybody has enough fuel to race it to the end.
Seeing Kimball's just trying to get back into line on the dry section of the racetrack to get ready to take the next turn, does not realize that his teammate Scott Dixon's beside him. Watch this, just a quick punt. Grass never has much grip.
No, especially when it's wet.
I'm sure Kimball's radioing back in there right now, said sorry, didn't see it.
Yellow, full course yellow.
The fewer laps left in the race, the more the balance between give and take swings to take.
Yes.
Yellow flag number 5 out. 11 to go here in Detroit. Sebastian Bourdais leads.
Verizon IndyCar Series Racing Duel in Detroit, brought to you by Honda, an official vehicle of the Verizon IndyCar Series.
A rainy, wet weekend in the Motor City. The duel in Detroit yesterday, shortened by weather. Today's on a drying track, but caution slowed in its late stages.
See Charlie Kimball just trying to get back in line behind Will Power so he could actually get ready for the turn. Takes out his teammate, Scott Dixon, driving the target machine, so there'll be a conversation, I'm sure, in the paddock later tonight.
Look at this. Look at Rahal go all the way to the other side of the track to block Sato.
Because of that action, IndyCar officials have told Graham Rahal he must move behind Takuma Sato for this restart. So Sato to third, Rahal to fourth.
I love it when they make those decisions as quickly as they did this time. Often we have those arguments that go in all the way to next week.
Yeah, and it's the correct call. But, you know, three aggressive guys here at the very beginning of this field, all with Formula One experience.
And a very hungry Graham Rahal.
Let's check with Doc.
Well, let's check on the fuel mileage up front. Now, even with all these yellows right now, they have done the recalculation and the recalculation for Bourdais, and they have just told him that you are just under 2 laps short on fuel. You cannot make it under 2 laps short. That's if you make 3.1. And behind him, Montoya's guys, well, they're not saying much, but they're nodding their head that he may be short as well. So it's whoever can hang on and save a little these final few laps.
Big accordion in the restart jam. Look at this to turn one.
Not much traction on the wet stuff.
Kimball survived a shove.
Oh, didn't he? Yeah, he was lucky.
There goes Karam again up the inside.
And Jack Hawksworth is turned around, exit 3, keeps it running.
Gather it up, you're good. Gather it up, you're good.
This is when you've got just mist coming out of your ears.
Why is there a full course yellow?
Yellow. We'll still have time to go racing here. Be patient.
Well, that's
Because
why.
of all that.
That's why there's a full course yellow.
That is the exit of turn number 11. Coming to the restart. Remember I mentioned that there was a big accordion coming to the restart?
So that happened before we actually took the green.
Yeah, before those first couple of corners.
Boy, it got sure to get busy here. Look at Kimball. Right about here, he gets broadsided by
Will Power.
By Power.
Is that Power or is that
Castroneves?
Castroneves, sorry.
And he keeps going. Now watch the right-hand side. Little bump, get out of the way. Okay.
This is the one where Jack Hawksworth in the ABC supply machine gets turned around. And just a little nudge by number 8, Sage Karam.
Didn't he have that problem earlier in that corner?
He did, yes. Poor guy can't get through there.
And damage to the left front wing of Will Power's car.
He might get away with that
Your left hand end plate's gone. The flap is flapping.
That from Charlie Kimball's car as bits and pieces are shed around the speedway. As we go to fenderless, full fendered racing in the closing laps here in Detroit. A lap away from a restart that'll come with 6 to go here in Detroit. Sebastian Bourdais leads. Doc?
Jimmy Vasser is the co-owner and strategist for Sebastian Bourdais. Jimmy, I heard you telling him it was 6 laps and then 3 laps, and now with the yellows. How close is it?
We're still not there yet. I think we need another yellow, and another yellow might make it a timed race, which could shorten it by a lap. So it's right now we don't have it. We don't have it to make it to the end. I think Montoya's in the same boat.
All right, Montoya and Bourdais, maybe a lap short, guys. But remember, the clock is ticking.
Well, the rate we keep producing these yellows.
Let's hear what Juan Pablo is thinking about his situation.
Now we need 3.4 and 4 laps of yellow. So anything you can do out there for us. I know it's not good, but it might be coming back to us.
So still needy on the fuel.
So how is Sato doing on the fuel, Alan? That's the big question right now, isn't it?
He stopped at the same lap that Bourdais and Montoya did.
Rick, he's in a Honda.
And I just talked with Larry Foyt just a moment ago, and I asked, can he go the distance? And he kind of looked at me and said, maybe. This yellow's helping a lot. But the interesting thing is Graham Rahal, who's right behind him, they just came on the radio and told him they think he's good to go the rest of the way on fuel.
6 laps to go, coming to a restart. Wow, Sato with a big jump on Montoya. Here comes Graham Rahal to Montoya's inside.
Montoya falls back to 4th.
And Will Power gets tagged. He tags Castroneves. Crash exiting turn 2.
Well, this probably helps the guys in front that were looking at their yellow.
Of all the cars for...
And the interesting thing that this probably does, the guy that was 5th in line that probably could have gone all the way to the end was Power.
There's the yellow flag, full course. Will Power's car in the wall, exiting turn 2, and clipping his teammate Helio Castroneves going across the track.
That's a hard one to explain on Monday.
Yeah, like I said, Will Power had pitted a lot later, so he probably could have gone to the end. So if those guys in the front had faltered and not made it because of the fuel mileage, then he was looking pretty good. But now he's taking himself out.
Now, the red flag is being displayed by IndyCar officials. They will bring all cars to pit road. They will stop the race to try and clean up the track and see if they can get the fans a green flag finish.
And they cannot work on the cars.
So what happened to Will Power exiting that tricky turn number 2?
Remember, very difficult coming up over the hill. This is where the creek is underneath. Looks like he gets a little tap from the 19, which just sends his car sideways and goes and takes out his teammate.
At that point, he was totally out of control.
So
he gets clipped
19,
right here.
Tristan Vautier's on the inside, just enough over that high part of the racetrack when the car is light anyways, doesn't have contact with the ground.
And Marco's just relieved they went to the left because he had absolutely nowhere to go.
So bringing the field down pit road and stopping them under the red flag to clean this mess up. There are 6 laps to go in the race. There'll be 5 when they roll back out onto the racetrack. And the field is stopped here in Detroit. And this adds to the layers on the onion of what's going to determine the winner of this one. Now look at Takuma Sato on the restart.
Amazing move. Very courageous. Important to get those passes done on the restart because that's the easiest time to pass a car, but very risky here at Detroit.
And Eddie, you mentioned that Juan Pablo, maybe a little bit of sleep on that restart. Not something that he's usually doing because he's usually the aggressive guy.
Get ready.
Now it's green. Now you can pass it. And here comes Sato. Sato never gives you a chance if he has the possibility to pass.
That's Montoya's finger on the button, complaining on the radio about that, I'm sure.
Green.
He almost hit the pit entrance wall.
Sato and Ray will jump this start. They're going to give me the places back. I mean, we're not even in the gas when they jump in.
Your opinion? Jump start?
I couldn't. I heard green, 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 and then I saw Sato arrive. So it would be a very close call. And all Rahal did, he just took advantage of the fact that Montoya was caught by surprise, and he fed his car into the hole.
Well, I think what really happened here was the 14 of Sato in that ABC supply car was lagging back a little bit. So when the green came, he already had speed and momentum on Juan Pablo Montoya. So I think we go back and we can actually start to time code this a little bit to see what's happening.
That's fine.
Now listen to when they say green.
Okay, ready? Green, green, green.
Oh, that's close.
Now there is a slight delay on our radio.
That's close. That's something that the sanctioning body is going to have to look at.
Well, interesting turn of events late here in Detroit. We check with Doc.
Yeah, let's check in with Roger Penske. And Roger, you love seeing your guys race each other, but you don't see them like it having contact. From your vantage point, what happened out there?
I couldn't tell. It was pretty mixed up there on the start, and they got over the hill here. I couldn't see it, so for me to say what happened, I don't know. All I know is we got two good cars out, but what a race, for the fans here. They waited here all day long here in Detroit, and we'll see what the finish is going to bring. It's going to be exciting.
I know you're up here calling Elio's pits, but it looks like some of these guys are really close on fuel, including Juan Pablo Montoya. Now with the red flag, how much of a gamble is it these last few laps to be able to have enough fuel to finish?
I think they're all right on fuel. I think with these last few yellows, it put them in a good spot here. They'll make it without a problem.
Okay, Roger Penske. Let's go to Rick.
We're standing by with Larry Foyt, Takuma Sato's strategist, and let's first talk about fuel. Does Takuma have enough fuel to go the rest of this race?
Yeah, we think so. Everything's been close, but these yellows have definitely helped out. So Takuma's driven a great race and saving fuel under yellow, which is helping us out, and we can get the ABC car in victory lane, be good.
All right, let's talk about that restart, because there's a lot of questions. Obviously, you're going to say he did it right, but there's a moment when you have to look at that and question, did he jump the start to pass Montoya?
No, I heard our guy say green. So as long as the flagman's thrown the green, I can't see it where I'm standing. I've got someone else remotely watching it because I can't see it. So as soon as he drops that green, it looked like he pulled out right perfectly. So.
All right. Once again, Larry Foyt, the strategist for Sato. Jan?
And the side of the story for Graham Rahal is Rico Nall. He has been on the radio with Graham and with the crew. A lot of engineers here are doing calculations. You really didn't want it to go yellow because you were in pretty good position if it stayed green, correct?
Well, we just got to the point where we think we'd be all right. The yellow doesn't exactly hurt us, but this red flag, the cars are sitting there, the tires are getting colder. I don't know. I think the Steak and Shake car has a good chance of making a few more positions, but I just prefer to stay green myself, yeah.
But you do have enough fuel to go for it.
Yeah, we're perfectly fine to make it to the end now.
All right. Sounds like a good one, Doc.
And John Boslog calling the shots for Juan Pablo Montoya. You called the shots a week ago, and you got an Indy 500 win now. I know it's been gut-wrenching. How close is it for you guys on fuel?
Very close. We're close. He's doing all he can. These yellows obviously are helping us, but we're just, kind of missing it right now, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully we get back going and we get some more yellow, and it's not us.
So you do need some more yellow. You need a little more help to make it?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, John Boslog, obviously very short here from Montoya. That's why he was trying to save on the restart. He knows that they're still probably a lap to a lap and a half short.
Now, the other question that comes into play here, besides the restart and the fuel mileage and so on, is what the actual distance of the race ends up becoming. Remember that there becomes a time limit on these races, and officials, while they have red flagged the race to try and clean all that mess up and give the fans their best shot at seeing a green flag finish, a move that I applaud, by the way, they are in the process of determining what the rest of the remaining distance will be. There'll be 5 laps left to go in the race when they fire the car up and send them off the pit lane by the scheduled distance. But remember, the clock is ticking also. So we'll wait for a determination from IndyCar Race Control as to how many more laps we will see before the checkered flag waves.
I really hope they run it to the end on flags, because this is going to become, this is already an exciting race, and it's just going to get better.
Well, it doesn't matter if it's 5 laps left to go or 3 laps left to go. As a driver, Eddie, you know what our position is. You put your foot on the gas and you move forward and drive the thing as hard as you can do. It's going to be like 3 qualifying laps is what these next few laps are going to be, whether it's 3 or whether it's 5.
So we have Bourdais that hasn't won a race this year, and he's trying to do everything he possibly can. Very aggressive driver. We have Sato that has very little patience when he's behind somebody. We have Rahal, who is trying to be the first person to win with a Honda. And we have the Indy 500 champion, who is 4th. You tell me if that's not an explosive group going into these last laps.
Teams are being informed over the IndyCar Race Control channel now. The process of what's going to finish the race. So I am listening to that as I speak here. And we'll come back to that in just a minute. They're getting ready to get the field back out onto the racetrack. And also informing the teams that the incident between the 19-1 car is subject to post-race review.
Well, that incident took out last year's winner, both Will Power and Elio Castroneves, that won the duel here last year, one Saturday, one Sunday. So that one accident took out both of last year's winners and Roger Penske's driver for Roger Penske's event. So that's not very popular.
Okay, here's the determination. The teams have just been told when the cars are released from pit road, it becomes a timed race. There will be 5.5 minutes left before the checkered flag from when they roll the cars from the pit lane. So this has become a timed race. And I'm just sitting here looking at my notepad. We've had a caution every 3 laps.
We were in that window.
Crash, clean up, restart, crash, clean up, restart, repeat. So what will we see in these last however many remaining laps? Hopefully not a repeat of that same pattern, Jan.
And when you look at the lineup and you see Takuma Sato just ahead of Graham Rahal, I believe this is somewhat unprecedented because we saw the blocking move that Graham Rahal put on Sato, and in the past that's that punishment doesn't fit the crime necessarily, so they've been working through what can we do, and because there was a caution, they repositioned those cars. Not too many races ago, Graham Rahal would have been out of this, and I think that was a good call to reposition the cars. Graham Rahal still has a fighting chance, so good on Race Control for making some adjustments from how they've done it in the past.
I totally agree.
So the engines are being refired. And here's that incident that Jan was just referencing. Graham Rahal, 3rd car in line.
Saw him get sideways, not be able to put the power down, came out slower of the turn than usual.
So the red flag withdrawn after 10 minutes and 18 seconds. Sebastian Bourdais leads the field back out onto the racetrack. Doc?
And we have checked with their pits and Jimmy Vasser and all the engineers and computers. And here's what they're telling Sebastian Bourdais. You're going to refire now, make 1 lap, and come around to the green flag with a few laps to go. Based on their computer calculations, the computers show that Sebastian Bourdais can make it to lap 69, just beyond lap 69, and he will be out of fuel. If they get a yellow, he'll be good. If they don't, he may be done.
So you see now the clock, top of the screen, and the time remaining in this race, and they will go green this time by.
If I was Bourdais, I'd be doing a very slow warm-up lap right now. Let that clock tick away.
You're afraid of the cold tires, or just let the time run?
Let the time run.
Okay.
Which he can't do because he has to keep up with the pace car. But cold tires are going to be an issue. Sato behind him is an issue. Sato is under pressure from Rahal. So this is going to be, and don't forget Montoya.
I believe I used the phrase last week in Indy, deep breath. Deep breath.
Very deep.
Bourdais, Sato, Rahal, Montoya. Then Tony Kanaan moving up to 5th after the willpower crash. Sebastian Bourdais, 4 straight championships in the kart era, 4 consecutive years. been close this season. They've been very solid. They've been like best in class behind the Penske and Ganassi teams. He's out in front today. He's got a chance to win. He's got Takuma Sato right behind him. They're coming to the green flag. How many more laps will we see? Will there be another crash? We all find out together. Simon Pagenaud ducked out of the pit lane at the restart.
What Bourdais needs is to have Rahal right on the gearbox of Sato. Rahal and Sato have not had a good weekend with each other this race. And the more pressure he can put on him, the better Bourdais will be. Sato almost loses it coming out of that corner.
He's wide just a little bit. Is that enough of a run for Sato to get there?
Don't forget, he's got to go on that semi-damp part of the track to get by, and they will not give him any room.
Around the Fountain Complex.
Chevy versus Honda. A direct fight for the win here in Detroit.
This is a point where you're driving as hard as you can. Your heart rate's right up there, and you are pushing each and every turn deep into the braking zones.
Right now, it's just about the first three. Montoya's fallen back.
But remember, fuel is still a concern for all of these guys. They could still hiccup in the remaining laps. The white flag will wave next time. Race control calling out. White flag next time. 2 to go here in Detroit.
These three guys are not looking at their fuel. They're going for broke. If they run out of fuel, they run out of fuel.
Bourdais, Sato, Rahal. Then a gap back to Montoya.
This is the section of the track where Sato always gains on Bourdais. We'll see if he does it again. On the limit. Bourdais is looking awfully strong.
Seems like once the tires got up to temperature there after a lap or so, his car certainly seems to work just a little bit better.
He's checking out.
Team that's owned by Jimmy Vasser, who we saw just a moment ago, and Kevin Kalkoven.
He's checking out. If he doesn't have a fuel problem, he has this in the back.
If. White flag, 1 lap to go. Rahal looking at Sato for second while Sebastian Bourdais leads. Does he have the fuel to finish? Montoya under some pressure from Vautier for the 4th spot, well behind these front three. And Vautier gets by Montoya.
What a great drive by him.
There's Andretti by Montoya. Montoya struggling.
Is Montoya running out of fuel?
Bourdais has just left everybody behind. Right now, Sato's biggest problem is Rahal.
Half a lap to go. Hopping the curb is Bourdais.
Very few corners left. He has no reason to look in his mirrors. All he has to focus on is about what is ahead of him and just hope there's enough fuel in the car.
Checkered flag is waving. He'll have enough fuel to make it. The winner of Duel in Detroit, race number 2, Sebastian Bourdais.
Good job, buddy. Awesome. Woohoo! All right, bud. Great job, man. Awesome job, brother. Awesome job. Great job, bud. Way to go.
Wow. Wow.
Great job, guys. Great job. Wow.
Those last 2 laps were unbelievable.
Awesome job. Got him.
He won by a 1.7 second gap, Scott.
And you can hear the relief on his voice because it's a win that everybody's wondering whether anybody can beat Penske and Ganassi this year. But I would say, as you mentioned before, I think one of the most talented road course drivers here. And yes, Juan Pablo was running out of fuel.
Had contact coming to the checkered flag as he raced with Gabby Chavez for the 9th spot. They made contact coming to the stripe as Montoya was running out of fuel. Chavez edged him for that position. So Montoya, after leading 35 of 68 laps, finishes in 10th as the championship leader.
Great result for Sato and Foyt also.
Well, Doc, the circumstances all worked out in their favor. And for Jimmy Vasser, his driver, Sebastian Bourdais, a win today.
And he's pumping his fist. Jimmy, a big smile. You said it was close. How close was it? I mean, why you had to be worried?
Well, I think we could have done one more at the end there because the race got shortened to one lap. But, all credit to these guys on the whole KVSH Mystic Hydroxy-Cut team. And having the Chevrolet power here and winning in Detroit is extra special. And, he's a great champion. He's been there before, so we had the right guy in the seat.
Hey, go celebrate.
All right, thank you.
Alan?
33rd career win for Sebastian Bourdais. Led the last 18 laps and set his fastest lap of the race and the fastest lap of the race on the last lap. And as Bourdais makes his way back around, all I can think of from this entire weekend is what challenges these teams faced, and the track promoter and the fans and so on, the weather conditions, the changeable conditions and so on. What an exhausting weekend here in Detroit for all of these folks.
And preparing the cars when you come from a place like Indy, which is totally different, and also for the drivers to change their mentality to race here. This is some of the most exciting racing I have seen.
To do donuts, boys. Put that on the little note.
That's a little embarrassing to have it stall on the front stretch, but
if you're going to win with a GM engine, there's nothing better than winning here in Detroit.
And you talk about different racetracks. I've always said that the IndyCar drivers are the most diverse drivers in the world because you go from Indianapolis, 2.5 miles, 225, 30 miles an hour, and then you come here, as you can hear the fans now applauding, to this type of a street road course, and then off to Texas, a high bank track. So drivers and teams do a tremendous job.
How bad do you think he wanted that, Alan?
Well, we all sat down with Jimmy Vasser and then briefly with Sebastian yesterday, Friday it was, and they talked about how close they were, but yet how elusive the little missing piece was.
And the frustration from Sebastian Bourdais that he had not won yet because he knows how close he has been.
Juan Pablo Montoya walking back.
Not the way he thought the weekend was going to end. Great team, great driver. And they won here in Detroit with a Chevy. Teams put so much effort into racing. When you're close like that, you can't get a win. It just builds up so much pressure in the team, and it's really great to see it released with a win like that today.
Doc, go to Doc.
Sebastian Bourdais, hey, that's how close it was. You couldn't even make it back.
No, I did. I just had a too long first gear to do donuts today. Too much grip from the Firestone tires. Couldn't spin the rear wheels.
Hey, what does this mean to you? You guys have worked so hard to be able to get this team back where it needed to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a heck of a feeling after yesterday's debacle. We couldn't get it more wrong yesterday, and today just did everything wrong yesterday and did everything right today. The strategy, the pit stops, the management of the fuel, the guys did awesome, and couldn't be any happier for the Mystic guys and Hydroxy-Cut, Circle K, Chevrolet at home, man.
How about that? A big win for Chevy here. Sebastian Bourdais goes back to victory lane for the first time in almost a year.
What a weekend in Detroit. What a finish. And Sebastian Bourdais, the winner of Duel in Detroit race number 2.